All right, so again, it's not a full-fledged chapter test or quiz. It's just kind of see where we're at. We do these every Friday. All right, so first type of problem that you're going to have is section 0.5. Okay, 0.5 was based on multiplying. So I'm going to do two problems with this really quick. This is the column method or lattice method, where you just take two numbers, whatever you have, and you multiply them together. So I'm just going to give you two examples here. Let's say we're doing 36 times 3. Okay, just kind of an easy example where you can stack it either the column or the lattice method. So if I'm going to do the column method, okay, you put whatever number you want on the top, the other number on the bottom. So this is column, right? And here's what you do. You start in this bottom corner, you multiply to the top, and if you have a 2-digit number, it carries, right? So 3 times 6, that's 18. So I would carry the number over. Yep. And then we go, since I carry the number over, now you just do the same thing. You just multiply here. And if you have a number that carried over, you add it. So 3 times 3 is 9. You add 1, and that's 10. And since there's no numbers, I wouldn't have to carry the 1 to the next column. This is your answer. Now, what would make that problem more challenging is if this is a 2-digit number. Because then, if you have a 2-digit number, you'd have to get rid of this 3, move to the next number, and since you got rid of a 3, you put like a little guard dog here, a little blank space, and then when you start multiplying the second number, like I just did, those numbers start here and move this way. They ignore the first spot, and then you just add straight down. But now, some people don't like column method. They just don't. I understand that. It's just not something you've been taught before. It sometimes, for some people, it doesn't make sense. So you're always allowed to do lattice method, where you put the two numbers on the top, you put, two numbers or whatever you want down this side. I'm going to make it a 2-digit number so they're the same size, so it makes a box, a 2x2 box. And then the trick was, what we talked about is that you draw diagonals for each of the boxes. And you just multiply and you put each answer in those two boxes, because every box will have two numbers. Right? 6 times 0, well, that's 0, because anything times 0 is 0. 3 times 0, that's 0. 6 times 3 is 18. So I put a 2-digit number there. 3 times 3 is 9. So I put my 2-digit number there. 9 is 0, 9. And then the trick was on this lattice method, you just add diagonal. So this number is by itself. This number, if I add, that makes 10. So I carry the next number over. You'd add straight down here. That's a 1. That's a 0. And your answer is 0, 1, 0, 8, which you wouldn't need the actual 0 for. That's the idea of column method. Okay, again, I do want to see that you can actually show me one of the two methods. I know the numbers are relatively simple. Like every problem we've done so far has been kind of single digits and stuff. I just want to see if you know the basics. Now, it doesn't matter if a certain number is negative. I don't care which one's negative. If one of them is negative, your answer is negative. If both of them are negative, then the answer is cancel out and you're back to positive again, because the two negatives would cancel. That's the rule for multiplying. It's the easiest thing in the world. Okay, now second section. This is 0.6. We did fractions. This is the one that probably had the most problems on the review that we did yesterday. Those are those red tags that we were doing all yesterday. This is all based on fractions. Can we simplify? Can you figure out which fraction is the larger of the two? Can we change a mixed number back to improper, improper back to mixed? So let me just give you an example here. If I wanted to simplify 12 over 20, right? This is one of the simplifying problems, right? You would break up the numbers as far as you can. For like 12, that's, for me, I think of 4 times 3. Some people like 2 and 6. Really doesn't matter. 20, I see 2 times 10. Again, whatever numbers you think of, that multiply to give you that, you just write those down. And then if you can break these numbers up even further, I would go do that. So like the number 4, that's 2 times 2. And for the number 10, that's 2 times 5.
Wait, why do you keep the 3 there?
So when I'm simplifying fractions, I'm writing down all the numbers I can, and if one of these breaks up, I just leave the other numbers I didn't break up. So like that's why the 3 just sits there, because I'm breaking it before to be 2 and 2, breaking it 10 to be 2 and 5. Notice the 2s and 3 just sat there, because you can't break them up. But once you're at this point, then what you try to do is you just cancel stuff up and down. So I can cancel out a pair of 2s. I can cancel out another pair of 2s. And so your answer on the end will be 3 over 5. Like that's the final answer simplified. Okay. Now, moving on to the next one. If you have an improper fraction, 10/4, that's an improper. To change that back, what we discussed, to change that back to mixed numbers, is you figure out how many pans you can actually get out of this. Well, the idea is that a pan can hold 4 brownies, right? Well, I can have multiple pans because I have a lot of brownies in that pan, right? I have 4 that can fit, but there's 10 in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a bunch of 4s until I can't do anymore, right? So I have a full pan of brownies, 4/4, another full pan of brownies, 4/4. How many brownies does that make total now?
8.
That's 8. Well, I have 2 left over, right? Because now the top makes a total of 10, because I'm separating them in their own pans. And then the idea is that what I look at last is I look at how many full pans I have. Well, I had 2 full pans, and then my extra fraction just goes behind it. That's how you change it back. That's the easiest way to change like fractions that are improper back to mixed numbers. Just count how many full pans you have by putting like the bottom number and just making pans to add up to 10.
Can you do another one of those?
What was that?
Can you do another problem?
Give me any number you want.
8 and 8. No, 8 and 12.
Okay, so let's go 8, and I'm gonna put a 12 on the top. Okay, so I'm gonna go improper, right? Okay, so 8, right? So how many brownies can fit in a normal pan on that problem?
8.
8, right? The bottom number? The bottom number is 8. So the idea is that I'm gonna make pans of 8. Right? And I can go as many as I need. Well, I had 12 brownies, right? Not 8, I had 12. So I know I have more than 1 full pan. So I have at least 1 full pan of 8 out of 8. How many brownies were left?
6. Oh,
4, right? There's 4 and 8. Now, here's the idea. Okay, all you have to do is make sure, does it add up to be 12? Yeah. If I need to keep going like multiple 8s, I would keep going until I've made enough of them to make a total of 12 brownies. So that means I have 1 full pan, right? And 4/8 is my extra fraction movement. That's the idea.
Okay.
So if, let's say your number was bigger on the top, let's say it was 20, right? Let's say this is 20, not 12. Well, now I would just keep going, right? I would go, okay, I'm gonna make multiple pans of 8s and try to get up to 20 on the top. So 8, I put another 8, that's 16, so I can have what, an extra 4 left over to make a total of 28 and 8 and 4
And
makes.
then what would
Two
our-
over 4 is.
And so yeah, so then this makes 2 full pans and 4 8s.
Okay. I get that.
Okay. So that's improper. Now, the last thing is going from mixed number to improper. So I'm going to keep continuing with that section over there. So mixed number, let's go 3 1/2. So the other type of problem is changing my problem down to a improper fraction. So that means I have 3 full pans and a half of a pan extra, so there's like 4 pans there. But the trick is to change this back to like an improper fraction, the shortcut. Big number times the top, or sorry, times the bottom, add the top. So 3 times 2, which is 6, and add the 1. So 3 times 2 plus the 1 on the top, and then it will be over 2. It's always over whatever the bottom number is. Does that make sense how you would change back to mix? Or you could just go like, okay, I have multiple pans of 2s. I have multiple pans of 2s. I have 3 full pans of 2s and an extra pan left over, right? 3 full pans of 2s and an extra, and this makes a total of 7. That's another way you could do it. Some people like that, they just like to see it visually, but it's telling them. All right, questions at all about improper mixed? Yeah.
Is this everything that's on there?
Yeah, so it's multiplying, right column? It's got some stuff where you simplify fractions. The last thing that we did, Friday, Monday, was multiplying and dividing fractions. That'll be on there. So that's like the only stuff. So if I do one example of multiplying, let's do one of those.
So you just went straight across with it?
Yes, just straight across, but I do want you to try to simplify. So let's say it was half, and we're gonna try to multiply by, let's go 8/9.
Is there a doctor's points we don't?
Yeah, you gotta simplify. Yep. So, okay, so if I'm gonna multiply, I don't need to flip anything over. You only flip fractions if you have a division sign, and only the one behind it would flip. But since I have multiplication here, all I need to do is break these up. Well, 1 I can't break up, 2 I can't break up. I can break them in 8, 2 and 4, and 4 can go even further, to be 2 and 2. And 9 on the bottom, that's what, 3 and 3? Okay, so I broke them up as far as I can. And then what you're allowed to do if you're multiplying is you're allowed to cancel stuff out. First thing I look at is up and down, there's nothing, but then I can go diagonally. Well, if I go diagonally, I at least have a pair of 2's. And now what I would do is just go straight across. So 1 times 2, which is 2 times 2, that's 4 on the top. And on the bottom I have a 3 times 3, which is 9. There's your answer. Now if that was division, the only thing that would change, if this was division, I would have to change it to multiplication and then flip this fraction over first. And then I would go into the whole breaking up and canceling stuff.
So
I like-
change it to multiplication.
Change to multiplication, flip, and then do this stuff.
Should be 9 over 8.
Yeah, you gotta change to multiplication before you start trying to simplify everything. Because simplifying works on multiplying, nothing else. So, okay, questions at all about any of this stuff? Those are the 3 sections. Now, obviously that section was section 7. 6 was this stuff. 5 was multiplying. Okay, I'll give you multiplication charts if you need it. But everything down below you, no calculators, nothing. You need a pencil basically if you need to borrow one. I have a couple up here. So everything down below you, so clear the desks.
Sam, can you throw me a pencil from it?
Yep, so clear your desks.
The bar pencil, make sure.
Yes, ma'am. If you want a multiplication chart, just let me know. I got tons of them. Okay. Some people like to have them just in case they don't remember what 5 times 4 is. Random numbers are. I'll print more too if you need. Okay, anyone else want one? Sorry, squeeze through here. There you go. Yep, yep. Anyone else?
Actually, no, I have one.
Okay, you got one. Anyone else want one? Okay, so if you want one, I got a couple up here. You can always grab it. Alright. I'm gonna hand out the checkpoint. Remember, it's a checkpoint. It's not like a full-on chapter test. It's not even that. I just want to see where you're at with multiplying and dividing. And so what? Our major chapter test is next week, next Tuesday. That's something I've been warning you about.
What time do we get out of here?
51. So you got about 20 minutes.
So this is like early out.
No, it's a normal day. So we're gonna do a pep rally at 1 today.
When's the tug of war?
It's during the ceremony today, during the homecoming.
Yeah, you have to go, you know.
Because we're gonna crown the king queens and stuff today, but
Can we find out who wins the hallway today?
no, that's, we do judging and stuff tomorrow. That'll be during the pep rally.
What's up for you then?
Because we don't think flow building today.
Not try.
Okay, everyone's got one? Okay, hey,
You have time to change shoes?
oh wait. Alright, checkpoint, put your name on it, first, last name. Let's go through the directions here. I always like to do this. Then I'll give you time and I'll just be quiet and just kind of work. Okay, number 1, you're multiplying numbers together. You can do any form that you want. Maybe just know the answer, just a short, simple answer. Remember, the big thing I'm checking on number 1 and 2 is like, is it positive or negative? That's the big thing I'm checking for. 3 and 4, you're simplifying the fraction. You can break them up, cross things out. 2, change that back to improper, kind of like we did up here earlier, this type of thing. Yeah, this one, we were changing it back to improper. 7, you have an improper fraction, you're changing it back to mixed number. That was number 7 and 8. The back, you're comparing which fraction would be the better of the 2. Maybe one's bigger than the other, they're equal. That's where you just kind of compare. 10, 11, 12, 13, those you are multiplying fractions. If you have a mixed number on those, change that to an improper like this. So if I give you a mixed number, change it to this and then do your problem as normal. Then you can do all this stuff where you break it up and cross things out. But it's got to be multiplication, so change those fractions and go from there. Anyone else want a multiplication chart? Okay. All right. You can work at your own pace. So. Not today, but since it's not a full-blown test.